Tasha Fortune. Hines County Coroner's Office confirmed on Thursday. Authorities have not said if they suspect foul play. I want you to keep the picture up, Jordan. We talked about this last time, this pattern that says either A, we don't suspect foul play, or there's no evidence of foul play, or not saying there could be foul play. The fact that you have a dead body is reason enough to potentially suspect perhaps there's foul play. And if anyone has information that could perhaps bring justice to the foul play that has happened to this woman, we would like to engage the community. But they don't say that. The Jackson Police Department first announced in a statement on Monday evening that cops, quote, located the body. You heard me right. Officers located the body of an unidentified black female at the 500 block of Road of Remembrance, a mostly black neighborhood. At 9:05 that night, neighbors in this urban community contacted the police after finding her body, though it is not clear how long the body had been there. Hines County Coroner Jeremiah Howard, who identified the body publicly, said earlier this week that the body would be transported to the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's office to perform an autopsy. That autopsy is to determine the cause and the manner of death. Put him up. That's Kenneth Stokes. Mr. Stokes is the councilman for Jackson's 3rd Ward. He's actually speaking out about the death. He says it is murder. I want you to take a good look at the elected official, because Councilman Stokes wrote a letter to the U.S. Attorney's Office. He bypassed his local police department. Quote, we are in dire need of the assistance of the U.S. Attorney's Office with the death of an unidentified female discovered hanging in the backyard of an abandoned house on the Road of Remembrance in Jackson, Mississippi. We especially are in need of the following details: by whom she was murdered, the motive for her murder, the confirmed name of the deceased, permanent address, as well as other pertinent information. We look forward to your response. And quote, Stokes said that even if there is no racial element to Ms. Fortune's death, Mississippi's history of lynching, and this is the point, the history of lynching alone must be considered. It's called context. Per WAPT, that public officials need to speak out against what happened to her and say it is unacceptable. Quote, hanging is an activity, a crime that should never be an issue of being accepted by the public, he said in an interview. Another quote, hanging must never be an acceptable behavior. Let's go to Fortune's Aunt. There's a GoFundMe page. Etta Avolio started a GoFundMe to help raise funds to cover the expenses for final arrangements. She says Fortune was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend whose passing has left her family devastated and heartbroken. During this lifetime, families go through ups and downs. And right now, Fortune's loved ones are facing one of the hardest moments they have ever known. She was a strong-minded, big-hearted, vibrant young woman whose life was taken at just 29 years old. Her loss has deeply shaken everyone who knew and loved her, and her family is now trying to begin healing while also facing the painful responsibility of saying their final farewells. We ask that you do the very best you can. Obviously, the local people understand their local politics as well as their criminal element, their bigotry that lives among them. The councilman has said it out loud. So much so, he put pen to paper. The authorities seem reluctant to call it racially motivated. A hanging from a tree in Mississippi of a young black girl. And the authorities who are in charge of the investigation will not say the obvious. That, of course, it is more than potentially, it is likely, based on probability, historical record, not be damned. All right, we got more on the other side. We'll keep you updated.
All of this is just $6.99 each when you mix and match at
So, what are you waiting for? Shop now at lovehoney.co.uk.
Don't they have flock cameras down in Mississippi? Oh, yeah. Teo and score 79. How can they seriously not suspect foul play when living in that part of America? And it's actually more cynical and offensive than them saying they don't suspect foul play. They literally have decided not to talk at all, not to confirm there's potential foul play, which is even more ridiculous in my opinion. To be an investigative agency and you have no opinion about a dead body. Like, if I would agree. This is becoming a pattern in Mississippi. How many of us have the opportunity to call it what it is? Very sad. All right, we have another report. So cops search black people 2 times more than white drivers. We are now in Kentucky. But before that, we have the evidence. Let's reverse engineer from the evidence. Louisville, Kentucky. Even though officers search black drivers 1 133% more than white people driving. They were less likely to find anything illegal when they did. That's according to internal records.
Time 11:41, 11:45. This is the next round.
The irony of this,
The next round. You have not entered the
they're
round.
searching black 133% than white people, and find less evidence of criminal activity in black folk driving than white people driving. In other words, the demographic that's actually committing the most crime per capita are the white drivers. And I wonder if white drivers are somehow aware that they are searched far less by the police than black drivers. So they take packages. We will call the data drawn from the report used by Sigma Squared. That's a data firm LMPD hired. That's the police department. They hired the firm and paid them $350,000. You could have paid me half to tell you that you're racist. $350,000 for the firm to tell them you have a bigoted, racist police department. Found black drivers searched 2 times more often than white drivers overall. When controlling for similar factors such as age and location, the disparity narrowed but persisted. So that means that some of the cops have a little bit of classism in them, okay? If you're a black person in a nice neighborhood, the numbers narrow. Black drivers still search at 66% more often than white drivers, even in those comparable situations. So the report has also found something called discretionary searching. Have you heard of this? Discretionary. Of black drivers produced an 11% lower hit rate, meaning officers found illegal items less often compared to when they search white drivers in a similar circumstance. Their own language in the report described the pattern as reflecting, quote, inefficient and potentially biased discretionary search decisions. Now keep in mind, once they contracted this company, once the police department made this company a vendor of their agency, the report belongs to the police department. The report does not belong to the firm. It belongs to the police department, meaning the police department is telling you that they are racist. They contracted with an entity to do a macro data analysis of their actual criminal statistics, pullover rates, etc. That trend is consistent with findings from earlier reviews. Let's go to 2013, 2014. Analysis of stops found 13.7% of stops involving black drivers resulted in a search, compared to 7.6% if a white person was driving the car. March 2023. The U.S. Department of Justice investigation concluded that this police department actually engaged in a, quote, pattern or practice of unlawful discrimination against black people in its enforcement activities, including through racially desperate traffic and pedestrian stops. That means it's against the law and somebody should have went to jail, but they didn't. Here's a story that captures the white privilege shown in the data. 82-year-old Steve Clark. Steve was driving home and got pulled over by one of the Louisville finest, okay? Officer Buckner, and telling is the officer involved. Clark said he was traveling 5 miles per hour under the speed limit in his car with tinted windows. Audio of the stop captured the cop identifying himself as Buckner and telling Clark his registration had expired for more than 2 years. Clark's plates were not actually expired. When Clark showed his current registration, the officer blamed his computer for the error. The stop lasted about 1 minute. Quote, he said, if I could have seen you, who you were in the car, I would not have pulled you over, Clark said. Buckner's recorded words, quote, I couldn't see who was in here in the dark tinted window, but y'all take care. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, end quote. When posed the question if he interpreted the comment to mean the officer would not have stopped him if he had seen that he was an old white man, Clark said that's exactly right. Steve Clark, keep Steve Clark up. That's an American hero, a legendary individual, iconic figure for the ages, because Clark is telling you the code. We all have code. We know how to speak code, okay? Clark was telling you the white man. Of course it is. And every reporter who happens to be white, they know that's what they do. Yeah. I couldn't see you. If I would have been able to see that you were a stand-up white man, this would not have happened. All right, so Clark did file a complaint. Once again, Clark is legendary. A true, remarkable human being. He filed a complaint with the Metro's independent office. That is your Inspector General. They work in concert with the Civilian Review and Accountability Board. I encourage every single one of you to either join one, be connected to one in your local community, or start one if you don't have it. The complaint triggered an internal professional standards unit investigation by the local police. Chief Paul Humphrey cleared the officer following the PSU investigation, but the Inspector General's office found the department's review incomplete. Let's go back to Steve Clark. I want to point something out. Steve filed a complaint on a cop because he did not get a ticket. He files a complaint on a cop because he did not get a ticket. His complaint has so much weight that the Inspector General, who works with the review board, disagreed on some level with PSU, Professional Standards Unit, investigation. But everybody's investigating. Everybody's doing their job. Because Clark filed a complaint because he didn't get a damn ticket. It's remarkable. That's utilizing whatever this thing is, call it privilege, utilizing it in order to make right what was wrong, period. According to the IG's finding, Sergeant Shay Rush and Detective Jeff Ottman interviewed the officer, a session that lasted 10 minutes. They interviewed him. The IG found neither investigator posed the question. They did not ask the officer any probative questions related to the stop. Specifically, the officer was not asked why he ran the plate in the first place. If he runs the plate of everyone, if they have a valid tag, or what is his reasonable suspicion or probable cause
I was the one here.
The IG's office said to make a determination related to LMPD's standard operating procedure on biased law enforcement practices, investigators must first determine why did the officer decide to run the damn tags, called preemptive stop. The IG, pretextual. The IG also found no investigation into the officer's stop history, no investigation into his actual history, if there's a pattern of stop violations. Quote, OIG staff found the PSU investigation to be a joke. They didn't say to be a joke. I'm paraphrasing. To be incomplete and lack crucial information to make a final determination. The IG's findings state. The IG's office also flagged a broader concern. The system LMPD uses to run license plates NCIC does not provide accurate or reliable information. And officers making stops based on incorrect system data are put in unnecessary danger. I believe they utilize that antiquated system because they know it gives false information. It gives them plausible accountability. Chief Humphrey disputed the IG's conclusion in the interview. Quote, there was no reason to extend that investigation to past stops. Hell, you didn't even talk about the complaint reference. So the chief says it was no need to extend the investigation past stops to see how racist this officer is if we don't have indication that he's being racist now, end quote. Humphrey said, adding the stop was legitimate and he didn't believe the officer acted with bias or malice. When asked directly if he believes there is bias within the LMPD, the chief said, yes, there's always bias. What we have to make sure systematically, one, we root out from the individual level. And our strategy is focusing on the data and doing things the right way. However, when posed the question, if the 48% stop figure, roughly half of all stops coming from a group that makes up 1/5 of the population, was wide enough to constitute bias, Humphrey said, no, that's not bias, actually. Humphrey said he accepts the Sigma squared data. Yeah, it's your data. And you paid him $350,000. Okay. So he accepts the data. The data says you're racist. As an accurate and describe the report as a baseline for future training and goals for improvement. Nobody's getting fired for being racist, is what he's saying. He said the department is conducting targeted reviews, but has not begun examining the track records of individual officers with the widest disparities in their stops. Quote, we're not there, Humphrey said, when posed the question if the department would review individual officers. Quote, I completely follow the data and say that the data is accurate. End quote. Another quote. What it gives us is a starting point to look at and say, hey, where are we? Are we having any actual issues with these stops? Is it part of our strategy? Is it effective? Sir, you're the damn police chief. Jordan, put up Mr. Clark. So the chief has not gotten around to, well, investigating the cops that actually show biased, bigoted, civil rights violating behavior. Mr. Clark, I encourage you to file another complaint. It seems as if that's the only way the cops move. And he actually admitted to racial profiling, by the way. So Humphrey said, the chief of police said, the disparity in stops and searches reflects the disparity in violent crime, noting that black residents account for about 70% of homicides Wow. The consequence, quote, there is little to almost no trust in the black community with LMPD, given the history that we're talking about, that we keep showing these disparities, decades, said Kungu in Juguna, a policy strategist with the American Civil Liberties Union in Kentucky. The findings increased calls to pass community commitment, Louisville's version of police reform, crafted after the federal consent decree, but that was dropped because Trump got in and said they can be racist again. And the measure has also stalled in Metro Council local. There you have it. We got more on the other side.
Booking.com, booking.yeah.
Domino's has large one-topping pizzas for $7.99 if you carry out. Okay, guess I'm carrying out.
With the consequence, sometimes surround beautiful individuals and make that beautiful person shine wonderful days, according to the Cincinnati Inquirer. A Lakota High School principal helped a student who was going through homelessness. The principal.
I'll see you around, yeah.